Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. It's O'Connor and Company, and we're going to feel a whole lot of really terrible global warming out there today. So bundle up, get the layers going. A real cold one. That global warming is killing us with the cold weather. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sense of it. The New York Times told me it's global warming. I'll explain a little later in the program. Also later in the program at 6:35, Jacob Alderman, chairman of the Prince William County Republican Party, will be our guest. Have you seen the new maps, the new redistricting maps the Democrats want to push through? It's pretty amazing. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Knox Williams, executive director of American Suppressor Association, talk about some of the gun laws they're trying to push through in Richmond. 8:05 brings us Virginia Delegate Ren Williams, representing Virginia's 47th. Republicans in Virginia are spitting mad right now. 8:35, we'll speak with Tim Burt, author of the new book, The 20 Most Underrated Big Game Ads of All Time. That would be the Super Bowl. A lot of ads yesterday worth talking about. Also worth talking to Beverly Hallberg, a friend of the program. Haven't talked to Beverly in a while, though. We were just catching up.
Yeah.
It's been a bit. She's a political communications expert, as you know, and gal about town. Hi, Beverly. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday. It's so good to be here.
Did you catch the game?
I did.
Yeah. What'd you think? Were you rooting for Seattle or the New England Patriots, or did you care?
Definitely not Seattle. One of the most boring games I've seen for quite a while.
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. I don't. And listen, it was pretty rough. I was leaning towards Seattle. I used to root for New England only because I like Tom Brady. But without him there, the only thing that New England has going for him is that Sean Spicer's a big fan. And, that's rough for me to, jump on board and be, rooting for anybody that makes Sean Spicer happy. So, and also, I have roots in the West Coast. I have friends and family. And my daughter is living in the Seattle area right now, and she sort of adopts whatever teams we're on. So I was but honestly, I just wanted a good, entertaining game, and I didn't get that until, the fourth quarter, I suppose.
Are you saying you didn't enjoy Bad Bunny?
I didn't not enjoy Bad Bunny. I was sort of ambivalent to Bad Bunny. I mean, I didn't quite. I feel like he was doing things specifically to provoke and anger, and it was certainly not a choice I would have made. I flipped over to the Turning Point USA thing and saw what they were doing, and here's the thing: I'm not a big country fan either. So, that had very much of a country sort of. I know it was country rock, but it still felt very country. It was fine. They were both. I don't care. The halftime goes on way too long. Just give me a break. Just get back to the game. Although in this case, get back to mediocrity. I don't know. What did you think of Bad Bunny? I'm not a big fan of that music.
I did watch it.
It has nothing to do with Spanish language, by the way. I thought Shakira was great when she was the halftime show.
Yeah.
And she sang most of it in Spanish.
I hate that people talk about this as, well, Americans just don't like Spanish, and that's just not true, because I do think Shakira and J-Lo killed it when they did their Super Bowl. I actually found the Bad Bunny performance as more like a music video, an extended music video, because you didn't see the crowd shots quite the same way. So even when you think about when Rihanna did hers, she had these stages that floated, and you could see the entire arena. It was high on production value, but I felt low on crowd interaction.
Right.
So that's what I felt was off.
Video production value, but not theatrical production value. Like Katy Perry. Remember Katy Perry's halftime show?
Right.
She took over the entire stadium. She was on a giant crane that flew her around the stadium and all that jazz. Yeah, that's a good point. It was very much playing to the camera. Which I guess is where, the vast majority of the audience is, not just the people in the stands.
Right. And I felt about the game as a whole, I think so many football fans were disappointed that we got rid of the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl to get the Patriots once again. Sorry, Sean Spicer, but most of us aren't Patriot fans. And then from there, the game itself was pretty boring. So I found probably the most entertaining part, obviously following along on X and everybody's comments, but the Budweiser commercial. And how
was that your favorite one, the Budweiser?
Yeah, I think Budweiser was the one that brought a tear to my eye. The nostalgia that Budweiser brings.
Okay, but Lay's potato chips had a great one for dads, especially girl dads. It was
Budweiser-esque.
That one got to me. Yeah. We'll go through some of the commercials a little later. Generally speaking, I thought the commercials were a little underwhelming too. I don't know. It was all just sort of mediocre. Actually, I have to say, not to sound like I'm a cheerleader for the administration, but the Trump accounts ad I thought was very effective. Did you see that one? Where they explained?
I did see that one.
I did a deep dive on the Trump accounts this weekend because I've got I don't know if you saw this, Beverly, but I'm going to be a grandpa. My first grandchild
amazing. I did
is
see
coming
that.
this year. And the baby's going to be born like a month after the Trump accounts take effect. So I started looking at the Trump accounts. That thing is so powerful. It's incredible how great these things are for kids, and how you can build wealth for this newborn baby. If you take the $1,000 the government gives you, and then you just put $100 in between parents and grandparents and godparents, if you can put $100 in that account every month for the child's life, when the child is 18 years old, they'll have access, assuming the market just does basic growth and compound interest, like 60 grand, 70 grand. It's remarkable.
And one thing I really like about it, too, is it's teaching investment strategies for young kids. Because I even think about K-12 education. Do they really teach investing?
No.
Do they even teach you how to put down a deposit on if you're renting a place? Basic financial literacy is not taught in schools. So I feel like Trump is teaching them about the market, which is a good thing.
It's a great idea. And it didn't get much coverage last week on the announcement, other than the fact that Nicki Minaj was there. But so their ad, the Super Bowl ad, was 30 seconds of ad time that was, I think, worth buying. I thought that ad was okay. I don't know. Was there anything else noteworthy about? Oh, there was a streaker at the Super Bowl. Yeah,
usually is. I think
it
was somebody from the Patriots, a wide receiver who tackled him. So it was a nice tackle from a wide receiver.
It was one of the best football
defense.
plays of the game, and he got more yardage than most of the players, except Kenny Walker.
The big joke. Yeah, during the halftime show was that Bad Bunny got more yards in his halftime performance than the Patriots all combined.
He seemed kind of it's weird because Latin music in general is kind of high energy, and the whole idea is like Shakira, you want to get up and shake your booty. I know I do. I don't need an excuse to stand up from my sofa and shake my booty. I found Bad Bunny personally to be kind of low energy. Like and again, I didn't watch the whole thing. I was flipping back and forth. But then I watched most of the clips that they were highlighting, like the people who liked it were highlighting on social media. And there was a moment when Lady Gaga came out. I didn't see this in real time. I came back and saw the clip. Lady Gaga comes out, and Lady Gaga is dancing with him. And he seemed, I don't know, he just seemed like he was sort of sleepwalking through it. I was predisposed not to like him because he's been a jerk and sort of mouthing off and being an idiot. But I was trying to be objective. I didn't find it very entertaining.
I didn't find that he had many moves. It were the dancers behind him had a lot of moves. It was more a lot of stages in it. People dressed up as trees. I found that entertaining. A lot of trees running around. I like that. We had men, on electric poles. So there was, honoring blue collar work. That's great.
Picking up the Spanish language aspect of it, I do see some people's complaints, and hear me out. You're right. I mean, it has nothing to do with the language of Spanish, because when Shakira sang and performed, we know that she's a Latin star. J-Lo is a Puerto Rican American. She sings in Spanish, have some of her music too, so that was fine. I did feel like the selection of Bad Bunny and his deliberate choice to perform the entire thing in Spanish was a political message. I believe that he did it for political purposes, and that's what annoyed me about it. It seemed like a Kira Davis, a friend of mine, a political commentator, she referred to it as a plant the flag moment. Like, this is our country, and we're going to plant our flag, and we're going to deliver your halftime show in Spanish. Oh, and again, only because it was undergirded with his political statements leading up to this performance. So it seemed like it was done as a political choice rather than an artistic choice. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the reason why he was chosen, because I've had to think about this, because this does not seem like the business side of it. They understand their audience very well. But as we know, NFL games have been going into London. We're going to have the first Australian NFL game this fall, coming up this fall. So I think this is a marketing ploy to try to make the NFL international. I hate to break it to them. I don't think it's going to work.
We like football, not football.
Not
and by the way,
not the other football.
Yeah, exactly, Beverly. And they're trying to do this the year of the World Cup, which is going to be here in the United States. It's like, why go overboard like that? You've got your international soccer thing. They literally refer to it as American football in other countries. So why not embrace the Americanism of it? We'll talk about the Super Bowl all morning long. Coming up, though, as I predicted, it's global warming that's causing the cold temperatures. The New York Times explains it to you in a moment. First, though, 5:15. Mark Morano at Climate Depot, Beverly Hallberg, made a brilliant observation on social media this weekend, because New York is also feeling a deep, deep freeze. It's this very, very cold band of weather, this front that just swept across the mid-Atlantic and east. Wind chills, super freezing. Again, in Mamdani's New York, this is literally a death sentence for all the people he is allowed to sleep on the streets out of compassion, of course. Dead bodies pile up under the compassionate glow of collectivism. And then the New York Times has a headline. The headline explaining the cold weather says this. Instead of just saying, yes, there's cold weather, it's winter. It happens. No, here's the headline. What's up with the big freeze? Some scientists see climate change link. So there you go. It's climate change that's causing the cold weather, even though it's been way colder, predating SUVs and, all the ridiculousness. It doesn't matter. They'll hold on to this political theory that is rooted in junk science. But that's today. Today, what's up with the big freeze? Some scientists see climate change link. Then Mark Morano points out that March of last year, 2 years ago, 2024, headline, New York Times, same publication. Weirdly warm winter has climate fingerprints all over it, study says. This is the classic heads I win, tails you lose. If it's a warmer than usual winter, it's climate change. If it's a colder than usual winter, it's climate change. So can someone tell me what the standard normative ideal temperature is supposed to be? Is there one other than just averaging over the course of the last century?
Well, this is what I think is so funny about it, is they're admitting that the climate does change. Climate changes. So some winters it's a little warmer, some winters it's a little colder. I'm of the camp, I like it when it's warmer. Yeah. So I want to go back to the way it was before, like last year, where it was a warmer climate change season. But it's just further proof that no matter what is happening with the weather, there's going to be an agenda attached to it. As if the cold wasn't enough, we have to attach politics to the cold as well.
Right. Well, in London, or in England, I should say, they had a couple of years there, like 2000, 2001, 2002, when the climate change hysteria was going nuts, where England had a couple of winters where there was hardly any snowfall at all, especially in South England and London area. And this headline was recalled. This is from the UK Independent. Snowfalls are now just a thing of the past. And they go in to talk about how, because of global warming, we're not going to really see snowfalls anymore here in England, which, again, frankly, is a good thing, in my opinion, because more people die from cold weather than from warm weather. But now, of course, there's snow everywhere. So why do we allow ourselves to be, bullied when they throw this stuff at us and cram it down our throats? That a lot of politicians have to. You have to deal with, giving advice to politicians, and they're often charged with this. Like, are you a science denier if you don't agree with climate change?
Well, I want to get your opinion on this. I feel like even the youth out there, they're not talking about climate change as much. That the discussion about it, the narrative about it has died down quite a bit. And so I think the left's push to still push this out there isn't working. And I'm not sure if you saw some of these videos just to show how bad it was in New York. Did you see the wind? Some of the videos people were posting about the wind in New York, barely able to walk. And by the way, they're trying to walk over mounds of trash and snow heaps in New York because Mamdani just can't seem to do the basic stuff well.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no, it is. It's horrid. It's horrid. And you are right that this next generation, well, I don't know. There's some in the generation who are literally suffering from depression because they were told that the planet is going to be destroyed in 10 years or less. The hysteria has been so, and there are some people who took that to heart. There are people who are in their 20s that won't have children because they think that the planet will be destroyed. So why bring a child into this Armageddon that we're about to experience? But I think, yes, generally speaking, Gen Z and younger Gen Zs are skeptical of everything we tell them because so much of what they were told, certainly cemented in the pandemic and the COVID pandemic, has been wrong and has been politically motivated myths, right? More from Climate Depot. He's been, Murato's been doing a great job here of gathering all of it, including this little moment on the Today Show. Here's Al Roker explaining the roots of the cold weather. Cut one, please, Jeff.
Well, yesterday I heard you guys talking when we were talking about all this cold air, and you said, well, if the planet's warming, how come it's so cold? So we thought we would answer that for you. So Arctic air is contained by the polar vortex. It keeps it up there in the Arctic. However, as the planet is warming, climate change has actually caused significant warming up into the Arctic. So as that warm air comes up into the Arctic, that weakens the polar vortex, that boundary, and it allows that cold air to move south. And that is why climate change, global planet warming, actually allows some parts of the country to be colder than usual. For today, that cold air goes all the way down to Texas. We've got snow showers, Great Lakes, some snow in the northern.
There you go. So did you catch that? When he literally in the same sentence says the warmer air is causing the colder air to come down into these parts. So wait a second. I thought it was getting warmer up in the Arctic. That's right. The problem is the Arctic's getting warmer, and that's releasing all of the cold air from the Arctic.
It really means that polar bears are going to be migrating to Texas. That's going to be the next fear. Polar bears wandering around the states.
That would be awesome.
Yes.
Are you kidding? The Texans would be ready for that. It's 5:25. All right, we'll continue here with Beverly Hallberg as our morning drives on. Democrats are scrambling to defend their opposition to voter ID. It didn't go well for them over the weekend. We're going to share it with you next. It's 5:37. Good morning, O'Connor and Company, on this cold Monday morning post-Super Bowl. People take the day off the day after Super Bowl, Beverly Hallberg. Have you seen this? They're like treating it like the Monday after Super Bowl is a holiday of sorts. Why?
Not us. We're here.
No, not us.
We're here and ready to go.
Just wonder.
But yes, that happens.
I will never quite understand why they can't make Super Bowl on a Saturday.
That would be great, actually.
Make it Super Bowl Saturday. It used to be on a Sunday because the regular time off between one football game and the other was a week. But they take the Sunday off. It's a 2-week span now from the last day of the playoffs to the Super Bowl. So why not just make it Saturday and then everybody can sleep in?
Or make it earlier on a Sunday. By the way, it's something that men should be prepared for next year. It's on Valentine's Day next year.
Oh, yeah.
So my solution is have Taylor Swift perform, and then everybody's happy.
I suppose so. Yeah. Consider be prepared. I don't know. It's not going to
start
end well.
Planning now, gentlemen.
All right. So the SAVE Act is making its way through Congress, and it's funny that what a couple of polls will do to sort of light the fire under certain quarters of the media, where you actually had some journalists asking tough questions to Democrats over the weekend. Just to remind everybody, the SAVE Act is a simple notion. The Constitution says that only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections. And so the SAVE Act says, hey, maybe we should make sure that people registering to vote are, in fact, U.S. citizens. So you have to prove citizenship. The one talking point that has driven me crazy on all of this, Beverly, and you heard it from Jamie Raskin last week, actually said, well, this may violate the 19th Amendment because if women get married, they won't have any documentation to prove their new name because the patriarchy makes them take a married name. Look at you shaking your head in disgust on that. You're a comms expert. Please explain to me what advice you would give Jamie Raskin on this one.
He should just stop talking in general. I think that's a good tip for Mr. Raskin at all times. They are grasping at straws at this point, and I love seeing the polling on this because it has changed over the years. Democrats had scared Americans enough in past years, or at least some, to say that, yes, this is racist, this is preventing people from voting, but I think especially as IDs are used in so many things, even you go to the airport. I know you flew yesterday, I'm flying today. You have to have a smart ID now. IDs are a part of life. It is not unreasonable to expect you to show and to vote. And this is why even Democrats, the majority of them are in favor of presenting an ID for people to be able to vote.
The idea that a married woman can't vote now because they have to prove their citizenship is, I guess you're right. It used to be racism. Now it's the patriarchy. They're like moving from one straw man to the next. Next, they're going to say, well, we can't have this. That means, undocumented workers won't be able to vote. And we're like, aha, yes, that's the point. Thank you. But, married women right now, when they get a job, every single American, when they go to get a job, has to fill out a form called an I-9 form. It is a federal law that you must prove your citizenship before you take on a job. So what's Jamie Raskin's argument about how married women are somehow incapable of getting a job and working because of the patriarchal law that you have to prove your citizenship? Somehow women have been able to navigate this for what,
We've been able to
years?
fly. We've been able to fly. We can rent a book at the library if that's what we want to do. We can buy alcohol because we have an ID. There's all kinds of things women can do. I've not, and I will say this because I do like to follow white liberal women on X to see what the narrative is out there. I have yet to see white women or women in general complain that this is the part of the misogyny that they're claiming out there. So Jamie Raskin is going on a new narrative. And again, it's a shifty narrative because the racist narrative has stopped working.
Ooh, funny you should say shifty narrative because Adam Schiff tried his hand at this over the weekend. It's funny, they trotted out all of the Democrats to talk in favor of not requiring citizenship to vote. They trotted out all the ones who aren't in danger of losing re-election this coming midterm. Adam Schiff is locked in for a while as a California senator, sadly. So here he is trying to explain his opposition to it to Jonathan Karl. Cut 2.
Republicans have created distrust in the elections by making claims of non-existent fraud in the elections. And shouldn't we use the distrust they've created in order to enact a voter suppression law, which is the SAVE Act, which would require people to have a birth certificate or passport, documents that millions of Americans don't have. Almost half the country doesn't have a passport, and I don't know where many millions of people would even find a birth certificate. So
but I asked you
phony fraud claims.
But I was asking you a different question. Photo ID. Because as you know, let's show up, there was a recent poll, there's been a lot of polls on this, but in one recent Pew poll, 83% of adults support requiring photo ID to vote. 71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support? And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, Jonathan. It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people that don't have the proper real ID, driver's license ID, that don't have the ID necessary to vote, even though they are citizens. This is another way to simply try to suppress the vote.
As Britt Hume characterized that moment, nearly everything Senator Schiff says in this segment is a lie. Well, some Democrats are starting to already announce that they will favor the SAVE Act, starting to chip away. We'll tell you who's joining Republicans on this one and whether Republicans actually might finally make this the law, because President Trump is demanding it. He's ready to sign it, and this could be a game changer. We'll get to that in a moment. It's 5:43.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
For example, but requiring basic ID in order to vote is really popular. A Pew poll from a few months ago showed 83% of Americans, including 71% of your fellow Democrats, support requiring an ID to vote. Why are they wrong?
I haven't said that they're wrong. We know that states are the ones who are empowered to conduct elections, and every state should be allowed to decide the best way to proceed to ensure that there's a free and fair election. Here in New York, there are, in fact, voter identification requirements. The question is that what Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. They know that if there's a free and fair election in November, they're going to lose. In fact, Republicans have been losing every single election since Donald Trump was sworn in January of last year, including most recently decisively in Texas, and of course, losing all across the country, up and down the ballot in the November off-year elections in places like New Jersey or Virginia or New York.
Yeah, and they've been losing. I mean, Virginia is a good example. They have a requirement to show your ID, and Democrats won very, very handily across the way. So why not maybe even just take that off the table and say, okay, maybe not a passport or birth certificate, but show ID.
Well, first of all, every state is empowered to be able to make the decision on their own, and we completely and totally support that. What Donald Trump wants to do is try to nationalize the election.
Actually, that's not true, because when Democrats are in power, they try to make it a federal mandate not to prohibit states from using voter ID. Dana Bash, had she understood that or had any interest in holding Hakeem Jeffries to his hypocrisy, would have brought that up. But that sounds to me, again, you're a communications expert here, that sounds to me like somebody who either needs more media training or who was caught flat-footed, not able to explain why his party opposes the base of his own party, who 70% of which want this photo ID.
What's so interesting about this conversation, I agree, I think Dana Bash could push more, but she actually asked him a reasonable question and he couldn't answer it. Yeah. And that just shows how ludicrous this thought process is. First of all, his first argument saying that Republicans just want this now because they don't want to lose in the midterms. Republicans have been beating this drum for years. This has been an ongoing conversation for how long? This is why there's been this racist narrative for so long. So most of what he said there is completely false. I just love seeing real tough questions, or even just a question that pushes back being asked.
It is real refreshing. It seems like a unicorn moment there. By the way, if Democrats claim to say, "Oh no, we just want the states to decide," we don't want to have anything to do with this. At the federal level, Congress actually has a say in how elections are conducted in the District of Columbia. And there was a bill just put forth on Friday to repeal D.C.'s non-citizen law. In other words, they passed a law in D.C. that would allow non-citizens to vote in local elections, and Democrats voted against it. 143 of them voted against it in the House. So it sounds to me like Democrats don't want any sort of prohibition against citizens. They want non-citizens voting. Which brings us to this, Beverly Hallberg. What is the difference between Democrats in the District of Columbia and the country of Somalia? And the answer is, in Somalia, they have voter ID.
Somalia's electoral authorities have started issuing voter ID cards across Mogadishu as the capital prepares for its first direct municipal council elections in decades under a one-person, one-vote system. Printing at the Somali Independent Election Committee headquarters operates around the clock in 2 8-hour shifts, producing an estimated 30,000 to 40,000 cards daily.
So in Somalia, they have a one-person, one-vote policy, and they've decided that the only way to ensure that that takes place properly and legally without corruption is to issue photo IDs. Here in the District of Columbia, Democrats would oppose that. What does that tell you?
Somalis handle corruption better than we do in D.C., which says a lot.
It also tells you might want to scrutinize the upcoming elections in Minnesota. It's 5:53. Well, we knew they were going to be bad. We knew they were going to be corrupt. We knew they would make Virginia the laughingstock of the nation. But we had no idea just how cravenly political Democrats were going to be with their redistricting map, now effectively making Republicans a 10-to-1 minority in the state when it comes to congressional representation. Well, maps are out, and they're frankly worse than we expected. Of course, Abigail Spanberger has signed the bill that would make it now a statewide referendum with early voting starting in, about a minute and a half. We're going to break down just how bad these districts are and how Democrats think they're going to get away with it. If only Virginia had a Republican Party to push back. We'll give you the details next on O'Connor and Company. It's 6 o'clock.